Another 619. Calling from a 619 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hello, Sam. This is Ed from San Diego.
Ed from San Diego. What's going on in San Diego today? I think it's like the second or third call we've gotten from San Diego.
Hey, I'm off today, so I'm just sitting around.
All right.
But have you heard the latest defense that Dave Rubin is using to dodge debates?
In fact, I have, and I appreciate the call. Let's look at the tape right now. This is a video that was sent to us by listener Evan, and I believe it was listener Evan was in fact there at a Turning Point USA at Santa Clara University. I think this is over the weekend. Dave Rubin, classical liberal that he is, was there with Turning Points USA, most recently in the news for having another white supremacist problem.
Unclear if that was before or after this. I'm not sure.
I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
I mean, once or twice these type of scandals hit an organization, you could say like, oh, there's,
The correlation is not causation.
right. But at one point you start to say like, I'm starting to see a pattern here. But here is this event where listener Evan came up and asked a question of Dave Rubin.
Hey Dave, so I've been watching your program since about like early time in high school. Now I'm in college, so it's been a while, but one thing that I really liked, something that you talked about here was the difference between diversity of thought and diversity of identity.
Sure.
Now the thing with a diversity of thought is I feel like that's a problem you actually perpetuate on your show, because the only time you really have left-wing guests are when they're members of the intellectual dark web, such as Harris or Weinstein, and they're only there for the bulk of the time to talk about the regressive left. And so I pretty much wanted to ask you, why won't you have Sam Seder on?
Yeah, he's recording it too. Okay. Yeah, I mean, the guy's he's just a dishonest player who's just lied about me repeatedly. Like, I'm not going to do it.
So would you be willing?
Excuse me? Dishonest player? I would like Dave Rubin to say in where I've been dishonest. I claim that he was funded by the Koch brothers, not directly. I was very clear about this. Through an organization that came out of George Mason University that sponsored his a series of his interviews, and he subsequently conceded that was the case. And now, the idea that he would smear me in this way for simply reporting on something that was true
Ugly.
is
a serious
ugly.
allegation.
And the idea that I have in any way slandered him is in and of itself a slander. Now, yes, it is true that at one point, Michael called him stupid, and I reprimanded Michael for that, and I apologized publicly to Dave Rubin for it. Yet, he still refused to even discuss any policies with me. And frankly, that smells like a dodge. So if not me, who is slanderous and a smear merchant and dishonest, what about other people would you have on who have differing opinions for you? And all you do is you set up, as you stand in front of a big government sucks poster, is malign the so-called left. But yet you won't have any of those people with the leftist ideas on your show. It's odd. Well, maybe if you were offered other people.
He's just lied about me repeatedly. Like, I'm not going to do it.
So would you be willing to have Natalie Wynn of ContraPoints or David Pakman or Kyle Kalinske? All of these are progressives who have...
I'm not, in principle, I'm not against having any of them, but I'm not going to have people that attack me personally. I think it's pretty obvious if you watch what I did up here. Like, I don't attack people personally. I'm happy to talk about ideas. You're going to go after me personally, if you're going to lie about me and slander me and things like that. Like, it's just not the game I'm playing. There's no win in it for me. You know, I have a certain set of rules when it comes to talking to people and how I sort of behave.
I think the fact that he determines who his guests will be on the scale of there being a win in it for me I think is the one of the more revealing things and the more honest things that Dave Rubin has said. He attempts, and look, Dave Rubin is perfectly, he is beyond well within his rights to not have anybody he doesn't want on his show. The thing I take issue with is the idea that he presents himself as taking on all comers, that his whole shtick is to allow for ideas that otherwise wouldn't be available to people to be aired, and that we can take on all ideas. Yet he is excluding the very ideas that the show is almost built around maligning, because he's going to go on now to say, like, if you look at my roster of people, they're all liberal or this or that who have left the people I will not have on my show. And so he claims to have this wide array. And so all I take issue with is that claim. I mean, and if you look at the evolution of Dave Rubin, and I like to think that at least part of our pointing out that the idea that he was of the left, and he used to list a bunch of policies, in addition to the fact that he was gay and married, which he probably had to stop at one point because he realized, like, wait a second, I'm using my identity as a means in which to show my bona fides, which is, of course, contrary to the idea that he promotes. But it was only 2 years ago when Dave Rubin was saying that he was for Medicare for all. He was for a single payer system. And it had to be pointed out to him that when you talk about being for a single payer healthcare system and smaller government, that you could not articulate two ideas that were more inconsistent with each other. There would be no other version of big government in the way that they're talking about it, because he has no problem with the military, than to say we're going to have the government provide health insurance for everybody. Because the biggest thing that the government does now is social insurance, Social Security, and healthcare that does not involve the military. And to expand that would be even more of that. But let's hear his justification for this.
Talking to people and how I sort of behave as a public person. And if you don't have rules, like, I'm just not that interested. But also, I think your premise is actually wrong. If you were to look, and someone did break this down on Facebook, I don't know how many shows I've done, maybe 500 interviews, something like that. Most of my guests actually either were lefties or are lefties to some extent. So it's like, you can say, well, Harris and Brett Weinstein, who considers himself deeply progressive, who was a professor at Evergreen State, the most lefty college in the United States. You could say, well, he's not a progressive anymore. Well, if he's not a progressive anymore, it's not because he moved, actually. It's because the left went bananas. So Eric Weinstein, who voted for Bernie Sanders, you can't tell me he's not a progressive. My guest 2 weeks ago, Nick Christakis, he considers himself a liberal. He's an old school liberal. So I think I don't know if there's a show that has a sort of wider net. I've actually never seen it, but as long as someone's respectful, I'm more than happy to talk to them.
I'm sure that Sam Seder will be more than willing to have a respectful discussion, but my point was not to discredit the progressiveness of either of them. I just wanted to say that I think you should have more people on the left that you would consider to be a part of the regressive left on your show. That's all.
Okay.
Ooh, that's going to stink to have that type of applause at your own Turning Points USA event. That's sort of surprising.
Jesus.
And it is true. Be completely respectful. And if I wasn't, then I would be the one who validates your entire claim. So this is an opportunity for you, Dave, to further your claim. I mean, you've asked for these people, Rob Reiner, Michael Flint, Chelsea Handler, Sarah Silverman, AOC, Bernie Sanders, Senator Warren, Mark Ruffalo, Stephen King, Judd Apatow, Maddow, Amy Schumer, Lena Dunham, Cory Booker, Seth MacFarlane. You would love to chat with some progressives who can keep it civil.
But you notice how he mentions AOC in this? Look at this other tweet that and Bernie, knowing he's going to be left in the socialist dust, has to sit there and pretend like she knows what she's talking about. That's not being very civil about AOC.
That's pretty stunning.
Ad hominem.
That's kind of exactly what he's mad about us for doing
Now,
to him.
to be fair, those two tweets came almost 10 days apart. So it looks like the kettle is calling someone iron and black.
I also like how half of the people he tags are celebrities who are not primarily known for political commentary.
What we mean, half? No, they're all people who espouse liberal perspectives on, but they're all almost 3/4 of them are actors.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts. That's like, I would like to debate James Woods. I mean, I would. I'd be happy to, but I don't really think that, like, he's
not Edmund in the lineage of Edmund Burke, for
yeah,
instance.
exactly. I mean, the fact is that there is virtually no one who is interested in having an exchange with me that I wouldn't have an exchange with. Maybe I have it on this show. Maybe I go on their show. I'm happy to do that. And I feel like I have a responsibility to do that. Sometimes the scheduling issues, but I'm open to it. Adam Kokesh, at one point jumped on, said yes.
Well,
what's his face? Who's that guy whose show I was on? The crazy guy?
Oh,
Brandon
no.
Straka.
Jesse Lee
Oh,
Peterson.
right, yeah.
Right. I went on his show. Brandon Straka wanted to, and I'm happy to go because that is, that's part of, I think, our responsibility.
if you want it, you can get it.
That's
Well,
right.
whichever Hollywood actor gets to debate Dave Rubin, maybe you can help them prep.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they're going to. But
I
we'll see.
think we should. Some of them should tweet out to tell Dave to debate you.
Yeah, listen, and I am not going to tell people to go to Dave Rubin events and ask this question. I haven't told anybody to do that. It's happening organically because I think people genuinely have this question of Dave Rubin. And so, I just want to make that clear too.
Oh, and one of the people that he claimed as being on the left, Eric Weinstein, I just looked him up. He's the managing director of Teal Capital.
His brother,
yeah.
I think.
Oh, different guy? All right.
Well, no,
Or no,
they're
Brett-
they're
yeah,
brothers.
yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're
he
right.
mentions both of them.
Right.
But the bottom line is he sits there and nods, regardless of who's sitting there, and he does not know what to do when he needs to actually question and interview someone with thoughts that are actually challenging to his.